Ciao, this is Daniel DiTuro. In this video, I'm demonstrating making baklava. The most difficult part of making baklava is working with paper-thin sheets of phyllo. If you've made my phyllo apple strudel recipe, making baklava only requires a little more time and effort. For this recipe, you'll need 40 sheets of phyllo. That's one 16-ounce package of a popular brand available in the United States. 4 ounces of melted butter to spread on the sheets of phyllo, and I'm using vegetable cooking spray to reduce saturated fat. Alternatively, you can use only cooking spray or increase the amount of butter to 8 ounces. About 2 ounces of hazel or macadamia nuts, finely chopped, 2 ounces of almonds, finely chopped, and 2 ounces of walnuts or pecans, finely chopped. You can adjust the ratio and type of nuts to your taste. About 1 1/4 cups of toasted flaked coconut. If you don't like coconut, you can replace it with an additional 3 ounces of nuts. 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. You can use light or dark brown sugar. 1 teaspoon of allspice. If you don't have allspice, you can substitute cinnamon, clove, or nutmeg, or a combination of these spices. 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of water, and 1/4 cup of honey. If desired, you can increase the amount of honey to 3/4 cup and decrease the amount of granulated sugar by 3/4 cup. Place a rack in the middle of your oven and preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You can use a food processor or blender for the next step. Place all the nuts in your food processor or blender and pulse until finely chopped. Your chopped nuts should look about like this. If you're using a food processor, add the brown sugar and allspice and pulse until combined. If you used a blender to chop your nuts, mix these ingredients by hand. You can break up the toasted coconut by using your hand, a blender. In this demonstration, I'm adding the coconut to my food processor and pulse several times until I have a mixture that looks approximately like this. I found that a finely chopped mixture of nuts and coconut works best. You'll need a 13 by 9-inch baking pan without a nonstick surface. You'll notice the scratch marks in this pan. You're going to cut your baklava before baking, so don't use your good nonstick baking pan for this recipe. The phyllo I'm using is about 9 by 14 inches, so I need to trim about 1 inch off of one side. Use a sharp knife to trim the phyllo to your pan and discard the trimmings. Cover the phyllo with a damp towel or damp paper towels to keep the dough from drying out. Use butter or cooking spray to coat the bottom of your pan. Add the first sheet of phyllo and brush it lightly with the melted butter or lightly coat it with cooking spray. To help glue the thin layers of phyllo together, I'm dusting it lightly with some of the granulated sugar. Repeat this process for the next 9 sheets. I'm alternating between butter and cooking spray for each sheet. After you've buttered or sprayed the 10th sheet, add about 1/3 of the nut mixture. Repeat the process for the next 10 sheets of phyllo, followed by 1/3 of the nut mixture. Add the next 10 sheets of phyllo, followed by the remaining nut mixture. Cover the last 1/3 of the nut mixture with the remaining 10 sheets of phyllo. Phyllo is easily torn. Try to put it back into place as best you can and move on. If you experience a lot of tearing when working with the phyllo, it can be easier adding 2 sheets at a time instead of 1. Another thing I experienced while making this video was the first sheet tearing while cutting the baklava. You can cut baklava into squares, diamonds, or rectangles. Squares and rectangles prevent small pieces, like this one formed, cutting on the diagonal. If you experience a lot of tearing of the first layer while cutting your baklava, Remove and discard the torn pieces. If one or more corners pop up while cutting the baklava, use your fingers to press it back down before baking. Bake 35 to 45 minutes or until the top is browned. While the baklava is baking, make the honey syrup by combining the water, remaining granulated sugar, and honey in a small pan over medium heat. Bring to a boil. Reduce the heat to low and simmer about 5 minutes uncovered and without stirring. Immediately after removing the baklava from your oven, drizzle the warm syrup over each piece. Use all of the honey syrup mixture. Cover your pan with plastic wrap or aluminum foil and let the baklava sit at room temperature for 24 hours to allow the syrup to be absorbed. A 1.5 ounce serving of baklava has about 180 calories, 3 grams of saturated fat, 75 milligrams of sodium, 13 grams of added sugar, and 2 grams of protein. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about this video. Thank you for watching, and buon appetito!